And we're rolling. I'm rolling. You're rolling. How's it going?
We're rolling in the mud like a couple of pigs trying to stay cool.
There ain't no mud out here. It's dust.
Right. Yeah, we were just talking how dry it's been and how we're waiting for some rain to hit. It probably won't ever. It's global warming. It's the drought.
Yeah, the general rule is like whatever you want, just expect the opposite.
Exactly. Or have zero expectations and zero desires, and then you'll always be satisfied.
Man, though I desire to have no desires. Does that still count?
You're going to be miserably disappointed.
Well, that's the root of suffering.
It's a root canal.
I'm actually getting one in a few weeks.
Are you seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Man, I'm really looking forward to it.
Were you into the dentist recently?
Mm-hmm. Yep. They went through and they're like, okay, here's a list of all the stuff we want to do. It's got a lot of stuff. Didn't know my mouth could use so much fixing on.
Are you in pain?
No, not at all. This was completely just preventative, out of the blue. But the way I see it is dentists, they've got to make a living too.
I don't trust them, man. I feel like it's like the equivalent to like when you go to the mechanic.
Exactly.
And they like just tell you crap is wrong with your car that isn't actually wrong with it.
Yeah, it could be like a slight performance upgrade or something that would be a good idea or, good option, if anything.
It's like, yeah, your blinker fluid's real low. We're going to need to fill that up. It's going to be $350 plus $700 in labor.
Yeah, exactly.
Sign here.
And do you want the warranty with that?
Oh, you have to get the warranty. You got to get that pro coverage.
Yeah. Hey, if you don't get it now, you can come back in less than 30 days and we'll just throw it on there.
Yep. You still got to pay for it, but we'll throw it on there.
Yeah. Dude, so dentists are crazy. If you're listening, stop. No, I'm just kidding. Dentists.
Yeah. Dentists, we're anti-dentites. But anyway, we have more important news today. John's birthday. Let's all give him a round of internet applause. He is 17 and a half today.
17 again. Zac Efron.
Great movie.
I've been watching it all day on repeat.
Well, yeah, it's the only thing that's going to keep you motivated in times like these.
The only time I stopped was to do this podcast, which is the other thing that keeps me motivated.
Yep, podcasting, Zac Efron, that's all anybody needs. Lack of moisture, dental procedures. You got yourself a full, hearty life.
I don't even take in nutrients because I don't need to.
Oh, exactly, because you be IV in that Campbell's chunky chicken noodle.
And Zac Efron.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, that's chicken soup for the soul right there.
Well, it's nice to be here. We definitely need to get a workout in. It's good old-fashioned leg day today, so hopefully there's still time after this.
Did you do anything today?
Nope.
Oh, man.
I did some yoga.
Oh, that's better than nothing.
Yeah. No, I'll get something in. And if not, hey, no big deal. Life happens.
No, it doesn't. Life is over. You miss one workout, you might as well just pack it all in.
Get kicked out of Westside Barbell.
Get kicked out of Westside Barbell. Get kicked out of your house. Get kicked out of school. People find out about that. You are a social blacklist at that point.
Really pushing it. Yep. Really pushing it.
Yeah, pushing it. Pat, 2017.
Dude. So we're here today to talk about the current times. Yet again, this is Lockdown Part 2.
The sequel. The squeakquel. Like in Alvin and the
Yeah,
Chipmunks.
yeah, exactly. Saw that on a date. His worst date ever. We broke up after.
Well, yeah. I mean, how could any experience ever top that? That's like
we
completely
peaked.
Juiced your dopamine right there. Nothing's ever gonna feel as good.
And it did not. Still hasn't.
Yep. Well,
trying to recuperate.
Yeah, it's like heroin, man. You can't, not even once.
Damn Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Yep.
Well, we're gonna try our best to do it justice with our own very squeakquel of this fabulous topic. So, Lockdown Part 2, it's important to you because we're all in this together. This is something that has come upon us Arizonans. I know that our podcast is broadcast all around the world. That kind of rhymed. That was cool. But from wherever you're listening, I think this information is still relevant because the current situation is kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
Stuff changes quick.
If you're not, like some people aren't even out of the first lockdown yet.
That's crazy.
And
it's been such a long time.
Exactly. And that really stinks. Like, I think that anyone now, whether you are still locked down or your state has reopened to an extent, you can probably expect a second shutdown of some extent as well.
Yeah.
So we're here to help to navigate the waters and talk through, again, remind you ways of how you can stay on track with your goals, even if you can't be going to the gym anymore. And number one thing you can do is, if you know a gym that's open, go and narc on them. Just narc on them. That's what everybody loves. Everyone loves a narc. Stitches get snitches and hugs. I don't even know what I'm saying. Can't start with stitches. That just made no sense. But what I meant to say was snitches get hugs.
Yeah.
Which is true.
And that's a credo. Actually, we both have that tattooed somewhere on our bodies.
Yep.
No, for a fact, I've got it along. Nah, I can't say where I've got it.
Well, it's right next to my Athlete X tattoo.
Oh, sweet. Trademark.
Yeah.
It's still trademarked on your leg.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. I know Jeff appreciates stuff like that.
Yep. All the Jeffs in the world, especially if you spell it Geoff.
That's not Geoff.
It's giraffe, actually.
I've never known how to say that. How to pronounce it.
Well, you said it right just now, Geoff.
Geoff.
Yeah. Hooked on
Dude,
phonics.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I learned how to read today.
Well, learn something new every day. One step forward, two steps back. That's how we do it here at Iron Will Collective, okay?
What's the opposite of progress? Net regression.
Yeah, net regression, one step.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all right. That's where we're at right now in the COVID world.
Yeah.
We're going to be stepping back all the time. Your gains, kiss them goodbye. Your health in general, you might as well just reserve that ICU bed right now and your body bag before they run out.
They're out.
Uh-oh, yeah, they're out already.
They're all out.
Yep.
Well, how are you staying motivated, positive through this? How are you staying on track?
Well, for people like you and me who are legitimate fitness enthusiasts, nothing can get in between us and our health at very least. Yeah, you know, your goals might be at a disadvantage depending on your equipment available and stuff like that, but there's no not exercising for someone like you or me.
Yeah.
So that's not a huge issue. But for other people who aren't as I don't know what the right word. I don't want to say enthusiastic again because I already said that, but we'll go with it.
Hooked on phonics.
Yeah, people who aren't as hooked on phonics as we are, I can see this being another real damper on their goals, because people who rely upon a gym, a fitness facility, possibly a personal trainer, or possibly a group class, and that is how they get their consistent exercise in. And now to not have that anymore, they're going to have to dig deep within themselves to make it happen, which is not going to require a whole heck of a lot. If you're someone who's in that boat, all you got to do is go for a freaking walk every day, and you will be doing your body an enormous favor. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It doesn't have to be even push-ups or air squats and sit-ups. Like, you can literally just go on a walk and you will be like doing a heck of a lot better than someone who's not doing anything.
Yeah, I read something that was in response to a dude who had a client that decided he was just not going to spend his time walking because he didn't think it was productive enough. So instead, he decided to do nothing. This client was at a level where a simple walk would benefit him greatly. Yet he didn't want to do it. And so the coach had to let him know. He outlined it really well, and I'll just make it brief. But he said something along the lines of, like, don't confuse complexity with, I guess,
like effectiveness.
Yeah, exactly. Effectiveness was probably the word. So that's true. Yeah, walking's a simple activity. Most of us can do it, no problem. And even if you have a little problem doing it, you should probably be doing it a little bit more. You know, save whatever rare reasons why you shouldn't be walking. Pretty much all of us should be walking.
Exactly. And that's like the easiest form of exercise that anyone can do. And if you're not able to walk, you probably got some bigger issues that need to be attended to first. Like, you probably need medical attention. You probably need a physical therapist or something like that. In which case, you could probably still see them. But who knows? Maybe you can't. Maybe your physical therapist is shut down too. But either way, the bottom line is do something. And that is just in the simplest terms. But for someone who's got more specific goals, such as someone who wants to lose weight or someone who wants to gain muscle, you're going to have to take it a step further. And, well, I mean, everyone really should be paying close attention to or trying to increase their attention to their nutrition, because that's going to be a huge factor in your success as well.
Man, that's going to be one of the most important things through quarantine. It's so easy to let your diet go. I've met with a new client recently, and that was his whole thing. Shortly before the first lockdown, quarantine, whatever, he stopped working out as frequently and as aggressively because his life had started changing a little bit, and so things kind of needed to be modified. And it worked at the time, but then lockdown happened. A lot of food started happening, increased amount of food, less working out. What do you think it led to?
Probably a six-pack.
Yeah, total six-pack. Fat. This guy, he just gained weight, kept gaining it, and was, consequently not happy about how he looked, how he felt, and had a hard time just finding energy to do most things. So going back, if he were to stop working out, that's one thing. Like, yeah, it fit his life at that time. But if he had a better grasp on his nutrition through that time, it probably would have helped to keep him motivated to continue with the working out at a later time, because his mind had been occupied with doing something and his body hadn't been given a chance to accumulate extra fat and decondition even further. You take in the nutrients that you need, you focus on eating a balanced diet with a variety of foods, whole foods, stuff that you make, stuff that you enjoy, you're generally going to be in a better spot than if you just eat out all the time and now you're finding yourself at like square -10. You have to make up a lot of lost ground, learn how to walk.
Even if you are at that point, it's always going to be a good idea to try to regain that ground that you lost as soon as possible, because as the time ticks and with the lack of action, it's only going to get harder from there.
Dude, seriously, I've been watching My 600-Pound Life pretty regularly. Great show. Highly recommend it to everybody. Not because you're looking at these big people and like laughing at them.
They make me randy. I like flaps.
Well, they've got plenty of that. It's cool to watch because the psychology of these people, man, like it's a slippery slope, and they go all the way down. Just when they think they've hit the bottom, they keep going further and further down. Like, I've seen people on that show make complete transformations. They stop themselves at a really, really, really far point. I mean, I just mentioned like point -10 earlier. They're like negative hundreds, 600s plus. It's really, really difficult for them to even get started at that point. But it's better than if they don't, because no matter how bad you think things are, it can probably get worse.
Certainly when it comes to health, that is very true. Like if you let things slip and then never address them, you can fully expect to live a painful life and probably die quite prematurely.
Yeah. Don't do that unless it makes you randy.
Yeah, unless it makes you randy. Do what gets your rocks off.
That's right.
If you like getting massive, then get massive. Like, who are we to tell you how to live your life? We're just trying to encourage some habits that will lead to a more comfortable life in the long run, which 9 out of 10 people will hear and respect.
Yeah. What's it gonna take to get you moving? Really?
So in a time like this, for someone hypothetically who has, say, Planet Fitness, their membership is now in great question, because as you mentioned earlier, you heard through the grapevine that Planet Fitness actually laid off all their employees, which still we haven't fact checked or anything yet. So if anyone wants to go ahead and fact check that here in Arizona, see if Planet Fitness got rid of everybody, go ahead and do that. But assuming that's true, and the thousands of people who who are members at this gym are now without a place to exercise, how are they going to respond mentally knowing that like this place might not ever come back?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you could always go find a membership at a new gym when things open up, if things open up again, because you know how things go with these lockdowns.
Yeah.
For a little bit more background, the governor here in Arizona has instated a 30-day closure of gyms and other establishments, and surprisingly, not all of them, like, you know, not all non-essential places.
Right.
So,
Gyms got hit pretty directly
gyms
with
are
that,
getting
man.
slapped right in the face. What are like other things that were on there, like bars?
Movie theaters. Not
which-
even open.
Yeah, movie theaters are just like, let's shut them down, and we never even open them again. So that, I mean, that really sucks for those people. But this isn't a movies podcast. This is a video games podcast, so we're going to talk about that. But for someone that in that situation, a Planet Fitness goer who is not a diehard fitness enthusiast, but was doing really well, staying consistent and making progress toward their goals, who is now basically cut off and left to their own devices, what advice could you give them to start?
Oh, man. First of all, figure out why it's even worth your time. Because if you go into it just because we're telling you to, or because anybody's telling you to, I don't think you're going to be able to build a sustainable habit. Just know right out of the gate that you're having to do this non-traditionally, because we've been fortunate to be able to build these establishments up to where you can easily just jolly on into a nice gym and have access to equipment and
Grab a slice of pizza, get on the treadmill.
Dude, I mean, that sounds awesome. But now that that's gone, it's like, shit.
Where am I going to get my pizza?
The pizza's gone. Well, that's this is not a pizza podcast. This is a breadstick podcast. So we're going to talk about that. I think figure out why the hell it's even worth your time is most important. And you can do that. I'll give you one way. It's the way I do it. I like to try and be a little intense when it comes to this kind of stuff, because life is both really serious and really not serious. If you go too far in any one of those directions, you're going to end up screwing yourself over. So take it serious. It's your health, it's your life, but at the same time, be a little playful about it. And so with that, take this exercise. It's called negative visualization. And you figure out all the things that could go wrong. I mean, maybe not all the things, because there are almost infinite possibilities to the way that your life could go wrong. But kind of just use a little foresight, some intuition. If you continue on the path that you're on right now, which, you know, hypothetically speaking, whoever you are listening, let's say that maybe you aren't very consistent with working out. You don't feel like you have a good handle on your nutrition, and you kind of just eat whatever sounds like it's going to be delicious in the moment. You don't really put any second thought to it as to how it's going to impact your health in the long term. So what happens if you stay on that path in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8? Just keep going and going and going further out. Things get bad, and they get bad a little at a time until it gets bad a lot at a time, because you can really start to accumulate all the hurting, all this disease in your body. And so that's what happens if you stay on that track. So for me, it was even a little further than that. I looked around at my family and saw, like, well, that guy, my grandpa died of heart attack. That guy's got diabetes. Everyone's got some kind of chronic issue that I know I'm very susceptible to. I mean, they're not very different than I am in terms of genetic makeup.
That's in your Levi's.
Yeah, dude, it's in my Levi's big time. That's a good one. So you look around and you see what's in your Levi's, and if it's not looking good, well, you don't have to go down that path. You can actually curtail it, or, change your direction. Fuck the gyms. You don't need a gym. You need to do something, though, because if you stay on this track, you're going to end up in that bad spot, that no-no place. And once you're in that no-no place, it's really hard to get yourself out of that shit, because it's essentially like getting out of quicksand. You're going to have to try 10 times harder to make like 10 times smaller steps.
Yeah, the harder you struggle, the faster you sink
Yeah.
in some cases. But I think that, again, it goes back to choosing your struggle, something that we talk about a lot, and that you have the option to either continue down that dark road that you may or may not foresee what is coming in the future, as far as your Levi's and or your lifestyle traits coming back to haunt you.
Yeah.
Or you can take just a little bit of time and invest that toward activity and education for yourself.
Yeah.
And that can make all the difference.
And once you figure out what's going to be driving you forward, like what are you trying to get away from? Because you got a fork in the road right now at any given time, really. I mean, we've got multiple choices and ways that we can go about living life. But let's say right now you've got a fork in the road that lies ahead of you. And on the left, it's the same shit, different day. You're getting fatter, you're getting lazier, things hurt more, things are difficult, you're more addicted to social media and instant gratification. You are less involved with, the people around you and relationships. And
that road is also cleverly disguised by comfort.
Yeah.
Which makes it attractive.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to go to bed on some nice-ass Tempur-Pedic mattress that you're in a little good amount of debt for, because good things don't come cheap, baby. But
yeah, I sleep on the floor.
well, you're a real man. You're a man's man.
A bath towel, yeah.
That's why you got a 6-foot beard that no one can see right now. But on the right, you've got a whole different set of options. So you figure out what you don't want, so then you can figure out what you do want, and then from there, you can start to make small, manageable steps. So gyms are closed. Obviously, you're going to need to acquire something in the way of equipment. It can still be found. It can still be bought. And if you're really at square one with all this stuff and have zero equipment, it's just you, yourself, and Irene, well, then you're still good to go.
Well, luckily, because this has been going on for the past many months, there's so much information on the internet of how to use common household items as resistance when it comes to training, without just body weight.
For sure.
So getting equipment isn't even hugely mandatory. Like, it'll help, and it'll definitely make things more fun, and probably even add some incentive to, like, hey, I bought these bands, I'm gonna freaking use them.
For sure.
But it's that sounds a lot more fun than saying, like, all right, well, I guess I gotta go to the pantry and fill my backpack with canned food and then walk for 30 minutes. Hey, that's still gonna do some work.
Yeah.
But I think I'd rather play with the bands.
I don't want to hear any excuses from anybody, because that's just the thing, is that
It's like, oh, I have coronavirus, I'm in the hospital, I can't exercise. Like, shut up, smoke a cigarette, and get out there.
rub some salt in it.
Yeah.
Just get up, take a shot. Let's go. Bite the pillow. We're on our way.
Pain stick.
Yeah. You just carry it with you.
Yep.
Beat yourself whenever you're feeling bitchy. But really, you don't need anything to get started. It's one of my favorite quotes, that it's never an issue of resources. It's an issue of resourcefulness. If you don't have the resources, then you need to get thinking, use the damn noodle in between your ears, and figure out what you can do to make it work. Look, I know somebody who's an aspiring MMA athlete, and he really wants to be the best in the world. Do I believe in him? Sure. I believe that we're all capable of doing great things, and you can't really judge somebody just based off of looking at them, but you can judge actions. And so I'm not going to name this person, but this person,
I think everyone knows who you're talking about.
if you're a return listener, then you can go back a few episodes and you might even hear the voice of this person I'm talking about. Only other person who's been on the podcast thus far. But anyway,
that's not true.
No.
We've had real guests.
Well, yeah. I mean, save for our real guests.
The person who was in the studio audience.
The only person we didn't want on the pod, but somehow made their way on the pod.
Sneaky.
Yeah, well, that's how he rolls. So he wants to do this MMA thing, and really, he had excuses at first, and the excuses were, well, I'm waiting for the gym to open so I can sign up and take some classes. I said, man, you really don't need that. I get being a total beginner and not knowing where to start, But that's why you have this thing called the internet that has so much information. And if it's too
Pretty
hard
much
to
free.
narrow it down, to find information, I will give you explicit directions. So listeners, if you're out there and you're in a similar boat, like, oh, I want to do X thing, but have no idea where to start, pare down your search terms here, because the internet works in this wonderful way. It gives you what you want, what you ask it. Seek and ye shall find. So I told him, just look up how to start MMA, beginner MMA drills, how to get into MMA, what to do if you want to be an MMA fighter. You can fill in the blanks there, with all sorts of different adjectives or jobs or whatever.
But with what you've named there, you're already going to get hundreds of thousands of articles and videos that will give you, again, with something like that, we always recommend taking multiple sources. But that's going to give you exactly what you need, is those multiple sources,
right,
multiple points of view on where to start.
Yeah, find one that you really like, kind of get a feel for the vernacular. Pretty much every single thing that anyone can get good at in any way has its own little language of sorts. You have to remember acronyms, you have to remember specific terms for things, and like learn the language, study the shit, so then that way when you pull up more advanced information with these terms, you look at it and you're not like, what the hell is HIIT? Heat? Height?
Or when you only ever heard people talk about MMA and you always thought they were saying anime, they will really clear up some misconceptions.
Yeah, pronunciation is everything. Like Geoff. My favorite Jeff. But no excuses. So if you don't have the resources, then you just have to find a way. There's a million ways to skin a cat. We've said that before, and it's been mentioned. But in essence, that's just to say, if you want to do one thing, you can have fun with it in whatever way you have fun, whatever makes you Randy, and you just start going towards something and away from something else. So you've got clear headings, essentially. And as you go along with it, that's going to become even more clear, and you can begin to refine it. If you start in fitness now, who knows where you're going to be in 5-10 years, like what your goal is going to be then. Maybe it's still just to continue being healthy and independent, but it's more likely that you're going to find some other interests along the way that allow you to use your body and your mind, because that shit's awesome. And I think that it comes natural to humans. We just kind of, we are not in touch with that side of ourselves anymore. We live so sheltered and safe, and
the willingness to evolve is hardly even there in a lot of cases. If you're the kind of person who's going to succumb to doubt and let that be the end of your book, it's unfair to yourself, because like you were saying, there's really no excuses for most things. Like, yeah, I'm sure some people might have a legitimate excuse why they can't be an MMA athlete. Maybe like you're a paraplegic or something like that. Yeah, might be tough to get into MMA then. But for most people, they're just these doubts that you have in your mind, and that's the only place that they exist. Like they're easily, well, I'm not going to say easily, but it is completely possible to overcome them, and to, like you're saying, just think a little bit and then find your way around it and through.
Yeah, man, if you're an ugly mother fricker, I'm gonna censor myself now. I could easily turn this into every damn day fitness.
We're gonna get in trouble with Trump.
Oh no, the FCC won't let me be. Well, if you're freaking ugly, you're hideous like me, maybe even worse, and you still want to be a model, I guarantee you can make that shit happen. Like, there's no excuse. Your chances are very slim.
You're gonna have to work your tail off.
There's nothing preventing anybody from trying, and if you try and give it your honest Saskatchewan try, and you figure out like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't really what I want.
Is that like the old college try?
It's something I made up. They seem pretty cool in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, it does.
So you give it a shot and see where that'll take you. like for example, I was reading in a book a couple days ago, and it was about bodybuilding, and they're referencing genetics. They're talking about genetics and how you can kind of look at a person's muscles and judging based off of the muscle length, how I guess successful they will be, that individual will be in bodybuilding if they were able to bring their muscles up to a certain size. So longer muscles tend to be better, because in that case, that not only can they grow more size, but they tend to just hold a completely different look than short muscles. Clear, obvious example would be somebody with high calves and somebody with low calves. Low calves are going to look very different than high calves. Yeah, and cankles or even biceps. Like you take your big fatty arm that's like bigger than somebody's head, and you're looking at a long bicep that goes from pretty much like shoulder to elbow, no space in between when you flex. So if you flex your elbow right now and you see the bottom of the peak, and you take the distance from the bottom of the peak to where your elbow pit is, you can kind of see like how long your bicep is. Well, they had this chart there, and it says that I'm low potential, which is good because it could be worse. There was one that was like very bad potential. Yeah. No, I don't know.
At the same time, it's like, who are you to let this article in this book dictate what you're going to do with your future?
Well,
exactly. Just because it says you got low potential, this is one book, doesn't mean that that's true.
Right. And well, he went on to make a good point, and it's the point that I'm going to make, which was when take a household name here, we got the Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Is that the guy that was in WWE?
No, that's just Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, okay.
You take the good old Arnie, when he was like 15 or whatever, how old he was when he started lifting.
Is he the guy from the Transformers movies?
No, that's Shia. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think he was, I think he was in the Olympics once.
Oh,
something like that.
No, that was Kurt Angle.
Oh, yeah. What did he do?
Author? Philanthropist? Governor? I don't know.
None of those really ring a bell.
Yeah.
Well, look him up. They said in the book that most people would probably know him. I don't have a goddamn clue. So they're talking about this Arnold guy, and they're like, when he started out, he had no idea what his potential was. Nobody was able to look into a crystal ball and say, you're going to be the most well-known and well-respected bodybuilder in your generation. And the generations
of all time.
Yeah, exactly. Of all time, thus far.
Dude has his own show.
Dude, he has his own lift. Oh, but you told me it wasn't named after him.
Yeah, but what do I know?
Well, it is now. I mean, jeez, it's always been named after him for me, so I don't doubt I'm the only one. I don't know.
I always thought it was the guy from Hey Arnold, but it's pretty irrelevant.
That show is actually based off his upbringing.
Yeah.
His
in New York.
Football-shaved head,
yeah.
New York upbringing. But it's a good point to make, because wherever you are wherever you are in your journey, for example, I'm still kind of in the beginning stages. I'm making my way into the intermediate stages, and I'm just plugging away, trying to get there. I could look at that book and it's going to say, oh yeah, low potential. Well, that doesn't sound very good, but that could be wrong. So all I can do is keep trying and pursuing.
Think of how many people looked at that article and put themselves in that same or lower category, and they're just like, all right, well,
it'd be stupid to stop.
Yeah, I'm done.
No way. No.
I bet you there are people out there who read that and they're just like, great.
What's the point?
I'm gonna go be an accountant now.
Yeah. God, why should I even try? Well,
horrible attitude.
Yeah. I guess to respond to that, I made a post today, and it was about what I put. I said something along the lines of like, sometimes the ending of a song is the best part of the song, because you listen and it kind of ties the whole rest of it together. You go, damn, that was pretty good.
It's like crescendo.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, that finale is good stuff. But you don't listen to a song just for the ending. I mean, that'd be stupid. If that's what we wanted out of a song, there'd be composers out there that wrote just endings, and it'd be like one note, just bang. It'd suck. It'd be terrible. And so I made another analogy even that was like, when you go hiking, it feels good to get to the end of the trail, you know, top of the mountain, because you did all this shit. It's not the ending that's the good part. It's all the shit that it took to get there is the good part. So if you've got low genetic potential, according to some book, that's okay. That's not what it's about. It's not about what your potential is. It's about just getting there,
but to,
whatever it is.
To really understand your genetic potential and to see it come to fruition would take years upon years of consistent training to touch that threshold. And how on earth are you going to ever know if that's true or not if all you do is give up after you read this one article? After 6 months of training, you find this book and you're like, well, my dreams are shattered. You're never really going to know, because for a person to reach their genetic potential when it comes to athleticism, it's going to take decades.
Yeah.
So,
and even then, man, I mean, there was this dude who played in the NBA that I swear, I think he was like 5'6" or something.
Steve Nash?
No, this guy was shorter.
Really?
Yeah, super short. And he played in the like Michael Jordan era. So he had some really talented ball players. He was like massively shorter than pretty much 99% of the guys. He's the shortest guy to have played in the NBA. I don't remember his name. You can look him up. Shortest NBA player.
Probably Dikembe Mutombo.
No. Not in my house. But this dude was so short. He grew up and he had to ball hard, man. He had to like really get in there. So he took his genetic limitation, which I'm sure if you spoke to pretty much any like basketball recruiter or anything, I don't know too much about basketball, but I can almost guarantee that if you are under 6 feet, they're going to say your chances are rather slim. So let alone like under 5'6" or anything like that, even close to 5'6". This guy was short.
But for a skill like basketball, you can't judge everything just off of your body stats, because there's so much more skill, learned skill that goes into your success.
As with many things, man. Like,
exactly.
Let's say you're a bodybuilder whose genetics are suboptimal. You don't have the longest muscles and the best muscle bellies or anything like that. You can still work on a lot of things to set you apart from the pack.
You can still go and compete regardless of
hell yeah,
the end result at the end of a prep. Like, if you want to do it, go and do it, and then that will be a valuable experience, win or lose.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Or if you've got a freaking arm that's like significantly shorter than the other and you want to be a deadlift champion, well, by God, you do that. You know, you figure out how you can deadlift, how you make it work, and work up to your best, and you will be the best probably with, you know, the uneven arm deadlift.
And if you don't believe in this kind of stuff, there are so many inspirational stories of successful athletes and people who are successful at other things in life that have been dealt horrible hands from the get-go. Like, I haven't watched it, so I mean, I'm sounding like a total fraud here, but there's this Netflix documentary that I always see about this wrestler who
Zion.
he has no legs at all.
Yeah, dude.
Like, it's
He's
off
good.
at the hip. And this dude's got a freaking Netflix documentary around him. So yeah, he's got to be good. I didn't even watch it, but you gotta believe that there's something special about this guy, other than the fact that he's out there trying, that he's actually been able to attain some level of proficiency in his craft, even though he doesn't even have legs.
Dude.
So
unstoppable attitude.
Yeah, and that's what everybody has within them. It's just an issue of tapping into it for yourself.
Yeah, you know, are you tired of getting sand kicked in your face? You tired of taking shit? Well, don't.
Tired of taking shits?
No. Favorite part of the day.
Yeah.
I sit there, hang my head in shame, take a good whiff, and just eat it up.
Oh yeah, and then toilets do not flush in this house.
No. See how long you can go.
Well, we do have our stool sample procurement still going on, so
Yeah, we've been working on that. It's all starting to come together. You know, stool sample procurement. We've got chimp strength.
we got rhino dick.
Yeah.
We've got so many great things coming here for late 2020.
Yeah.
The best year in history, as it's being come to be known.
Dude, seriously, I mean,
honestly, like people who are calling 2020 like the worst year, you always see on the internet, can we just fast forward to 2021 or something like that? Just like,
didn't they watch Click? What's wrong with those people?
Yeah,
like,
you're gonna end up real sad if you do that, first of all. But second of all, it's like life is always going to be unpredictable, and you know you can kind of look at it as a game too. Cause like here's one thing that is kind of deep and profound and hard to wrap your mind about. But like consciousness, like we don't really understand consciousness in general. Like we don't really understand this whole experience that we're having here. I kind of like to look at it like a game sometimes, and just like what happens is what is kind of in the program. You know, you can get in that whole fate versus free will argument, and again, like who's gonna ever be able to answer that? But I like to look at things that happen as just like new obstacles in the game. So just like you're playing a video game, you've got this objective, but then along comes another objective that you have to complete before you can get to the main one, type of thing. And just look at, you know, everything you do as sort of like a game, and it'll, like you were saying before, take a little bit of that seriousness out, add a little bit of playfulness to it, because what do you do with a game? You play it.
Yeah.
So whether it be an interaction that you have on the street with somebody, and maybe you say something embarrassing and that you regret saying, don't look at it as like that thing that you're going to be losing sleep over for the next 2 years, or randomly think about it in 10 years and then get sad again. Just look at it like, dang, I'm just playing the game out here. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. None of us do. You got to understand that too, that we're all here for the first time in this life, maybe, as far as we know at least. And you just got to look at it like we're out there trying.
Yeah. I mean, the whole point of the dance is not the end of the dance. It's to just dance.
It's the tango.
It's the tango about. So it takes 2 to tango and 1 to eat a mango.
Mango salsa.
Ew.
Mango chutney.
Ew.
Yeah, I'm not into that.
I can't think of chutney the same. Like it just looks like toilet leftovers in my head now.
I've never been a chutney person to begin with, so I always just thought that was super funny. See, and that's back to the game. If you can make yourself laugh, do it. As long as it doesn't mean being like at the cost of being a cock to somebody else, like do it. Or if it's something that makes you happy, as long as you're not, you know, outwardly like stealing candy from a baby or something like that, something that's totally unfair and BS, go for it. But if it's something like, you know, you are the person that is working harder than another person, and then you get the job because of that, don't feel bad for that other person. Feel proud of yourself for doing the work needed. And then maybe that person will wake up and understand that they've got to take their game to the next level. Yeah. It's one way of helping. That's called leading by example. And I've always been a firm believer in that. And I have, in my time, seen it not work a lot of the time, too. And that's a shame, too. Because back to, you know, every cliche in the book about how you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You know, you can only control what you can. And I think if you're the type of person who will lead by example, then be grateful for the people that do follow suit. But just know that not everyone is going to. Not everyone's that aware. Yeah, I mean, it can be difficult. I think oftentimes it really just comes down to individual perspective, which, you know, like when you let water out of a drain and it starts spiraling and, you know, down into the drain. So that thing is constant, but it's changing. And people are exactly the same. So we're kind of like this constant thing, but we're constantly changing. So
with that, perspective can change too. And
That's
so
like a
sometimes
Bruce Lee quote or something, right? Something about like be like water.
yeah, be like water. Water is formless, my friend. If you put it in a teapot, it's a teapot. If you spill it, it runs or something. I don't know. But it's true. And that's kind of like an Eastern philosophy thing, Taoism, where you kind of just flow with things. But from a matter of perspective is something that does constantly change. You know, like, I don't know if you've ever watched a movie or read a book at one point in your life and then gone back to it years and years later and kind of saw it through a different lens, and you go, wow, this is not how I remembered it. It's very different.
Absolutely.
That's just because your perspective is changing. You don't feel it while it's happening all the time, but it happens. So that's the whole point of this podcast, I think, is kind of just open people's eyes. Whoever is listening, then you can start to think about how your life is just a series of all your decisions connected. And so you have the ability to decide to do things differently, even without knowing where that's going to take you. You can feel like you are doing things that you know will take you a good place. It might seem beneficial to you because of the instant comfort you get out of it. But if you really step back and kind of look forward into your crystal ball, you can see your life headed in a not so good spot, then good news for you, you can try and change that today. The bad news is if you don't, well, it's just going to keep sucking balls.
Yeah, it's going to get harder and harder.
And you chose that, you know? I don't want to be a victim blamer, but I don't agree with people victimizing themselves for their life situations. Like, people get dealt bad hands all the time. And it's really just a matter of how you're able to detach yourself from the situation, figure out how to move on to the next thing.
You want perspective. If you're someone who's fortunate enough to have the means to even be listening to this podcast right now, consider that there are people out in the world that have very little to no access to technology, very little to no access to a consistent source of food or water or sanitation.
Yeah.
Like, you got it pretty good right now if you're even listening to this. So to shift your perspective in that drastic way might help, but you don't even have to go that far. You just need to be willing to open your mind to the possibilities, and don't close yourself off and think that just because things are the way they are now, that's the way it's always going to be. Because if you do that, then yeah, it probably will be. And you just laid down and you've let your dog pee in your mouth.
Yeah.
And you know what you could do? You could get up and you could kick that dog. As I always talk about, I'm a firm dog kicker.
You only kick firm dogs.
Yes, I only kick firm dogs, like hot dogs. But in reality, you have the world at your fingertips, and to be fortunate enough to have the access to the internet to be listening to this right now, chances are you're fortunate enough to have a lot of other great things going in your life. Why not take advantage of that and then start to make your life something that you want it to be, not something that it currently is right now that you may not be satisfied, or what somebody else tells you it needs to be. You have your own life, and you can live it the way you want to.
Yeah, until you die.
Which might be tomorrow. So that's all the more reason to get started today. The fewer regrets that you have come that day of reckoning, the more satisfying I can see your life as a whole having had been.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about. Do you ever, it's kind of off topic, but I thought of like zombies just now, you know, coming back after you die. Because what's if that happened? You're like, God damn it. You're like, you know, I worked so hard, died, and here I am again. It's like, who wants to live forever? But I watched this thing a while ago, and it was funny because it was the zombies from a different perspective. And so it got me thinking about perspective again. So it was like, okay, the normal world. So let's say you and I right now, like, okay, I die and I come back as a zombie. Well, you see me and I'm like this fleshy dead thing that's animated and kind of stupid and drooling, just wants to eat brains and stuff. Not a pretty sight, right? But from my perspective as a zombie, my whole world's different. Everything's beautiful colors. You know, you look like the best food I've ever seen. Everything's awesome. I'm just loving it. It's better than life It's so good. Like the air smells good, like Cinnabon everywhere. My hands are so soft, you know, like I didn't even wear lotion today and they're so soft. My hair is like, it's a good hair day every day. And then you kill me because I'm a zombie. It's just like, fuck, man, perspective.
Never saw it
Like,
coming, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's kind of like back to the dogs. A dog has such a different perspective than a human, and sometimes it can be very frustrating for the owner of that dog when it's, you know, the never-ending battle of the dog getting in the trash or something like that, which is just like unteachable for a lot of animals. It's like, dude, if they smell food or something, that is like the one of the top 3 things in their life is food. And it's like, for you to, you know, blame the dog for getting in the trash is not justified, because that dog, in its perspective, it does not know rules. It does not know possession. It doesn't know anything that like we're trying to instill upon it. So if you're the type of person that's going to be like an actual dog kicker and go and do something like that, you need to think that like, wow, this dog doesn't even understand this. So for me to be like punishing him in this way is like totally unfair.
Yeah.
So same thing for like the zombies there. The zombie doesn't know that it's wrong to be eating people.
Yeah, its life seems good from its point of
It's
view.
like everyone's got a different point of view. Everything has got a different point of view. Look at the ants out in your yard right now. They are working their asses off to provide a home for their queen and to bring food and supplies into that place. And guess what? Someone comes by and sprays them with pesticides and kills like a quarter of their
like acid
population
rain.
there. They're just going to continue on. They're going to regroup, and they're going to figure out a way to persist.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, you ever see the fire ants that get caught in a flood and they clump together like a
like a raft.
non-Newtonian fluid type of thing,
Yeah.
like weird crap like that.
That's super
like,
cool.
So much different perspective, and these are all around us. These are things that you can witness yourself today in your backyard, and to just kind of give you an idea of how deep this goes.
Yeah, well, I mean, the perspective helps because you can zoom out of your own life, which might seem super important because it is, you know, you take care of your own shit and you're the center of your own universe. Like everything revolves around you from a personal standpoint, but not really. So you just need to be able to balance that out and, you know, just remember that even if it feels a certain way, that might not be the case because you're one viewpoint of many. So if you think you're a real piece of shit because you haven't worked out in the last month and you've been eating terribly, well, zoom out and, you know, maybe somebody else doesn't see you that way because they see you as somebody who has a little more mobility than they have. And so maybe a little more drive, or they respect some aspect of you. So you are it. You don't need to go searching for things elsewhere outside of you, especially to get started. The gyms are closed again. So freaking what? You've got to wear masks outside. Don't do that.
You gotta wear
That's
masks
stupid.
at the hot dog stand when
Don't
you get
follow
a burrito.
stupid
You
rules.
walking on Tumamoc Hill. Lady walks past you. She walks past you and utters a single word: masks. Lady, we're outside.
Yeah, exactly. That's the current situation. It's whatever.
But you got to think, what's her perspective? Is she someone who has been like personally impacted by the pandemic and is taking it upon herself to passive aggressively, I don't even know how you say it like that, to try to make people wear masks to flatten the curve, doing her part? Like, who knows? But you could easily judge that lady, which we
Yeah.
did.
Probably
Like,
think
hey,
she's helping,
we're a
but
jerk.
she's not.
Yeah, but she's actually being a simpleton. But, you know, it goes in every direction. So something I read in a book recently was talking about some simple things that you can do with your life to help with traverse these type of things. And one of those things is to not make assumptions. And that can go a long way when it comes to respecting other people's perspectives.
Yeah.
Because the chances of them thinking the way you do, pretty slim.
Oh,
So-
yeah, for sure.
But the chances of them also being their point of view in their life also being meaningful and valid, probably pretty high.
That's why I think a proper response for something like that would be a question to try and understand where they're coming from.
Exactly.
And
Rather than be like, bitch.
yeah,
To the mask lady, you just be like,
you can feel that way,
You
but
could have a human to human conversation and say something like, hey, we're outside and we are not in close contact with anybody else. Why do you see it important for me to wear a mask? And then guess what? This lady's probably gonna get ultra triggered by this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you did the most reasonable thing that you could have done if you would have said anything other than just letting her walk past.
yeah, I mean, other than that, maybe you could ask her like, do you think shaming's gonna help? Like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
like like use words to get to the bottom of it rather than just automatically jumping to the point to where this person is now an enemy.
Yeah, I mean, I still think she's kind of dumb for
I
it.
kind of love her. I kind of want to meet her, and I kind of want to take her out to the Olive Garden.
Dude, you are randy today, man. What the hell is that humidity, huh?
Yeah, it's that humidity and all that. My 600-pound life, it's going straight to the brain.
Wow. Well, I know what you're doing later.
Yep.
600-pound life.
Yep. Got my tissues ready. It's because I'll be crying. Don't be sick.
Yeah. No, but really, I do highly recommend that show. It can be a little hard to get into at first.
It's kind of like Hoarders.
Yeah, it's very similar.
It's very interesting to. I mean, on one hand, I don't like watching it because I feel like it's wrong for these television companies or entertainment companies, whoever's producing these shows, to be profiting off of these people's like absolutely dire situations
Yeah.
that are like super messed up, and to be treating them as entertainment for people. But you could also, again, shift your perspective and not so much look at it as entertainment, more look at it as a broadening of your horizon, showing you what's out there and teaching you what to avoid. Because I'm sure some people who are like, you know, on the verge of becoming a severe hoarder themselves, maybe they watch that show and maybe it saves some people from going down that dark road. Same with my 600-pound life. Maybe you get someone who is struggling with obesity and they watch this and they see all the terrible things that these people need to go through, and that can be the determining factor that makes them go from inactivity to jumping into motion, getting toward a healthier life. Like, who knows?
Dude, yeah. I mean, from my perspective, as someone who's never been morbidly obese,
Don't lie.
you got me. But when I look at somebody who is, I mean, a while ago, before I watched this show or anything, the first thoughts that passed through my mind probably would have been a little more judgmental, because it's like, damn, how do you let yourself get to that point? You ask yourself, and then you say, oh, I'd never let myself get to that point. Like, you're so cool because you have that self-control. But then when you actually see these people and see what their life has been up to that point, to where they're 600 plus pounds, you go, holy shit, this really could happen to a lot of people. Oftentimes they've been through severe trauma, usually starts when they're kids. They usually live a life of being obese, and then it just gets to a point where they stay at home all day and eat. Sometimes they lose their mobility, sometimes not. In all cases, they are severely depressed. And so it's just interesting to go and kind of get a look at that psychology. Like, damn, the days where I don't feel like doing shit, I'm probably more similar to a 600-pounder than any other time in my life.
Yeah,
you know?
you're probably leaning more that way than to the bodybuilder that you want to be.
Yeah,
at
exactly.
times, but it's all on a spectrum, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that it's important to realize how little anybody, like, I don't care if you're a freaking Harvard scientist or psychologist or something, how little anybody really knows about the inner workings of the mind, and how intangible this stuff can be, and you know how it cannot be tested and how it cannot be predicted in a lot of cases on what's going to happen inside of that gray matter. So I think that's something to always be aware of too, is the things that we don't know, and the things that, you know, even though science is trying to understand, we still do not have a firm grasp upon. So again, basically, just when it comes to that kind of stuff, try not to judge a book by its cover, because there's probably a lot more that is behind that than you can just see or hear about in a 1 hour program.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it gets really intense. But it's also nice to see how some people really justify their actions through believing their own lies. And at that point, it becomes a negative feedback loop where you're just locked in this cycle of
You
like,
want to
oh,
be the victim.
I can't do it, or I need this to get started, and it's just so hard because, you know, I don't have this opportunity, or, you know, I had a bad day, or this is going on and it's so rough, so difficult. I just need to like eat. It's any number of lies that you could believe, but ultimately they're terrible excuses. They suck. They suck, and it's just it's delusions, man. So it's cool to see that, because then when, you know, for example, if I had something going like that and I said, oh, today was just so hard, I really need to do this thing, like grab a Ben and Jerry's, or maybe make that 2.
Chip happens.
Yeah, chip happens. I want all the flavors today. More chip happens. But if I'm able to kind of click myself out of it and go, oh my God, I'm trying to believe my own lies right now. It helps kind of course correct, and, you know, reminds me what I'm trying to get away from, what I'm trying to go towards. And so it's just all building that strong fire under my ass to keep going in a positive direction, because you don't get your time back. Once it's gone, it's gone.
You know, I feel like the difference between a delusion and an aspiration is like negligible. It's just like the difference between positivity and negativity at that point. Like, you could be in the same position as somebody else and be like wanting the same thing. So say you and me both want to be bodybuilders. You and me both have the same body type, and we both looked in the book and it said we have you know, low aptitude. Like,
Yeah.
this book tells us this. I could go and be like, screw that. Like, I'm like, nah, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna make this happen. I could be wrong. I could be delusional in thinking that. But then the same thing goes for if you were to be like, oh, man, all right, well, time to sell the barbell. Looks like I'm not gonna be able to be a bodybuilder after all.
Yeah.
Same thing. That like, who's to say that that's true either? So everything seems to be a delusion. It just, if you're gonna, and you're able to pick your delusion in a lot of cases. Like, sometimes, yeah, again, back to, like, you know, mental disorders and stuff like that make things more complicated. But if you can choose to follow that positive delusion while not being a dick, you'll probably end up being somewhere that'll be pretty satisfactory to you.
Yeah.
But if you choose to follow that negative delusion, that perpetual victim lifestyle, then you're really not going to like where you end up.
It gets
so
worse.
Why not just try and make a positive delusion for yourself? Like, hey, I am the king. I am the freaking man, and everybody knows it. Why not believe that rather than I am scum? I am scum of the earth. People should hit me.
Or everybody else is scum.
Or that, yeah, that's a bad one too. Is because, like, how could you possibly know that?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's very complicated, but at the same time, if you can stick to some simple principles of positivity above all, and following personal interest and persevering, being patient, if you can instill these qualities in yourself, you will make something good happen. It's almost guaranteed. But if you do the opposite and you choose to be the victim forever, you're gonna be the victim forever.
Yeah, almost guaranteed.
So yeah, exactly. Like, you manifest whatever it is that you cook up in your brain there.
Yeah. Well, some people are just crazy too. There's always that. Just bringing it back, last point I want to make is that we make these podcasts, and I feel like we're trying to speak to a certain type of person, somebody who maybe hasn't made the best decisions in the past, but who's confident or who's hopeful in their future and would like to begin making better decisions and course correct and end up somewhere different.
You're speaking to
That's
me.
like the ideal client right there. You know, somebody who's actually going to start busting ass, making moves, and
Where do I
headed
sign
that
up?
Way. Dude, right here, I've got you. Google Forms. Need some PAR-Q going on and get your signature, you're all good to go.
Everything hurts.
Well, there's also some people, though, that just really are on the opposite end of that spectrum, just not interested at all. It could be for any number of reasons. So that's kind of just backing up what you just mentioned a little earlier, which was you don't really truly know or or can understand the workings in somebody's mind. So that's the thing. There's no black without white. There's no front side without the back side, or friends without enemies. I mean, there's duality in all things, and that's what creates balance. So we're speaking to a very specific type of person. If you're not that type of person, well, you probably didn't even make it this far. But if you did make it this far, then use that as something to help drive you forward, because you can make a positive change in your life. Everybody can. Some people choose not to. You can choose to.
Exactly. Just believe in yourself and follow your dreams. I know it sounds so simple, but it really is when it comes down to that.
Yeah. You're gonna die. You're gonna die.
You're gonna die, and you can choose. Like, you want to die with a novel full of regrets, or do you want to die with some achievements under that belt?
Hell yeah.
Now is the time to choose, because you're dying tomorrow. So pick now.
That's right. Get that.
All right. Well, that is about all the time we have for today. Anything else you'd like to say before we sign off?
Oh man. Well, had a good time talking about Lockdown 2.0, the squeakquel today. Just to kind of wrap it all up, you don't need the gym. It's not an issue of resources. You just need to figure out how you can move yourself away from a negative outcome towards a positive outcome. So figuring out what's going to drive you. And then from there, knowing that perspective is a big thing. So if you look around and you see crap, if you shine a dim light, you'll have a dim outlook. If you shine a bright light, you'll have a bright outlook. So
simple to understand.
Yeah, exactly. Try to work on that perspective. Not everybody's going to change. Everybody can. Not everybody will. If you're that person who will, well then get started. Just do it.
And if you need help, you know where to find us. That's what we're here for.
Hell yeah. Iron Will Collective.
The Iron Willies. Thank you for tuning in today. We'll talk to you next week. Have a good night.
Good night.